At exactly 8:14 a.m., on a quiet Tuesday morning, federal agents walked into Olivia Bennett's office in downtown Los Angeles, carrying a warrant with her name on it. Within minutes, the 40-year-old financial director was in handcuffs. Federal prosecutors accused her of stealing nearly $4.8 million, creating shell companies, forging corporate records, and laundering nonprofit funds over the previous 3 years. The evidence looked overwhelming. Every signature matched hers. The financial records all pointed to her. Every crime carried her name. To everyone watching, the case seemed open and shut. But Olivia already knew something the investigators didn't. The handcuffs weren't the beginning of her nightmare. The real betrayal had started 3 years earlier, inside her own brother's home. 3 years earlier, Olivia Bennett had always believed family came before everything else. At 40 years old, she had built an outstanding reputation as the financial director of one of Southern California's largest nonprofit organizations. She was known for her honesty, attention to detail, and ability to safeguard millions of dollars in charitable funding. Ironically, those same qualities made her trust professional paperwork more than she should have. That trust would eventually destroy her life. One Friday evening, her older brother, Daniel Bennett, invited Olivia to dinner at his luxurious home overlooking the Pacific Ocean. Their uncle, Richard Bennett, was already there. Richard had practiced corporate law for more than 25 years and had handled legal matters for the Bennett family for as long as Olivia could remember. Olivia trusted Daniel because he was her brother. She never questioned Richard because everyone in the family respected his legal expertise. Dinner felt completely ordinary. They laughed about childhood memories, talked about work, and discussed Daniel's plans to expand his real estate business. As dessert arrived, Daniel slid a thick folder across the dining table. "Actually," he said with a casual smile, "I need a small favor." Olivia looked at him. "What kind of favor?" "I'm refinancing a few commercial properties," Daniel explained. "The bank wants a temporary power of attorney in case I'm traveling when paperwork needs to be signed." Richard spoke with his usual confidence. "I drafted everything myself. It's standard procedure." Olivia opened the folder. Unlike someone signing blindly, she carefully reviewed every page. She examined the legal language, checked the dates, and verified the notarized signatures. She asked Richard several questions, and he answered each one without hesitation. Nearly 20 minutes passed before she reached the final page. Everything appeared completely legitimate. Even after reviewing the paperwork one last time, she found nothing suspicious, satisfied that it was simply routine legal documentation. Olivia signed. Richard quietly collected the folder. That should take care of everything. Olivia smiled. She had no idea those signatures would one day become the foundation of a federal criminal case against her. 6 weeks later, a humanitarian disaster changed everything. Massive floods devastated several remote communities across Chile, where Olivia's nonprofit had supported relief programs for years. Because of her financial expertise, she was selected to oversee emergency recovery operations on location. The assignment was expected to last 6 months. Internet access throughout many recovery zones was unreliable, and most days were spent traveling between isolated villages. Sometimes an entire week passed before she could make a brief satellite phone call home before she left. Daniel reassured her, "Don't worry about anything back here. We'll take care of everything." Richard nodded. "If any legal paperwork comes up, I'll handle it." Olivia thanked both of them. She believed she was leaving her affairs in the safest hands possible. She couldn't have been more wrong. She couldn't have been more wrong. 6 months later, while Olivia coordinated disaster recovery thousands of miles away, someone else quietly began stealing her identity. Using the power of attorney she had unknowingly signed, along with forged corporate documents, falsified resolutions, stolen personal information, and fabricated financial records, Daniel and Richard gradually took complete control of her financial identity. New companies were registered in Olivia's name. Business bank accounts were opened using forged documentation. Commercial loans worth millions of dollars were approved through fraudulent applications. Money flowed through multiple shell companies before disappearing into accounts secretly controlled by Daniel and Richard. Each forged document carried Olivia's name. On paper, every transaction appeared completely legitimate. Everything had been carefully designed so that, if investigators ever uncovered the fraud, every trail would lead to one person, Olivia Bennett. She had absolutely no idea any of it was happening. Over the next 3 years, Olivia returned to California, believing life would simply continue as normal. Daniel insisted on picking her up from the airport, acting as though nothing had changed. He hugged her, asked about her trip, and even joked about how much California traffic she had probably missed. Richard visited a few days later. He smiled warmly, welcomed her home, and asked about Chile, as if nothing unusual had ever happened. Neither man showed the slightest hint of guilt. Olivia unpacked, returned to work, and slowly settled back into her routine. For nearly 3 years, she lived an ordinary life. She never suspected federal investigators had already begun following a financial trail that pointed directly at her. Present day, that ordinary Tuesday morning ended with federal agents placing Olivia Bennett in handcuffs. As stunned coworkers watched from their offices, the lead investigator stepped closer. "Ms. Bennett, we've been investigating you for 18 months. Olivia stared at him. "I think you've made a mistake." The investigator held her gaze. "I wish we had." At that moment, Olivia realized something far more terrifying than the handcuffs around her wrists. The money was gone. Her identity was gone. And the people responsible had been sitting across the dinner table all along. She just didn't know it yet. The money was gone. Her identity was gone. And the people responsible had been sitting across the dinner table all along. As agents escorted Olivia toward the elevator, the lead investigator stopped beside her. "There was one thing we never understood," he said quietly. Olivia looked at him. "What?" He opened a thin evidence folder and pulled out a single document. This signature. It wasn't forged. Olivia stared at the page. She recognized it instantly. It was the very last document she had signed at Daniel's dinner table 3 years earlier. For the first time since the arrest, genuine fear crossed her face. Because if that signature was real, then everything she believed about that night was wrong.